Hi everybody, it's Jen from Trauma Champions. I've been away for a little while. I've been in the moving process for the last couple of weeks, and it's finally over and done with. It's been just chaos, and you can see our crazy moving chaos behind me, so please ignore. We're still in the process of putting everything where it needs to go, and woof. But anyway, I got my little office set up and I'm so excited to get back to making some fun videos for you guys to help address some topics you've been asking about. And so today I wanted to talk to you about roadblocks. I know a lot of you have been sharing with me some of the things that have been stopping you from achieving your goals. And those are the things that, pop up from time to time when you're trying to achieve something. A lot of times they're coming from places of self-doubt. They're coming from places of fear, anxiety, things like that. And, it's in order to achieve anything in your life, you really got to identify the things that stop you, the things that hold you back. You have to shine a flashlight on these things so they're not hiding anymore, so they're not popping up when you least expect them and you don't know how to address them and then they end up winning. That's not a fun time. So, I have an exercise that's going to help you guys identify these things so that you can really start to get honest with yourself and start to figure out the things that have been holding you back. And as trauma survivors, a lot of times our roadblocks typically are coming from a place of self-doubt. They're coming from places of fear. They're coming from learned behaviors because we had to survive. They're coming from places of pain. They're coming from places of shame and guilt sometimes. This is some heavy stuff. This really is some heavy stuff. A lot of times if you're talking to somebody about, their roadblocks and maybe they haven't been through something so traumatic, it just might be something as simple as, I get to a certain point and then I just, I don't know what to do, so I stop. Or, maybe somebody told me that they didn't think I could do it, so I just stopped. It's stuff like that, which I've had myself too. However, because I'm a trauma survivor, I've also had a lot of other things pop up that have blocked me on my way to my goals and to my dreams. And some of those things are a little hard to deal with. Some of these things have to do with I don't deserve it, and that's a huge emotional trigger because when you feel like you're undeserving, it puts you in a really bad spot because all of a sudden you're isolated from your dreams. All of a sudden, you're not part of the world anymore. You're undeserving, which is so not true. We're all deserving, So once you identify, example, maybe you feel you're undeserving. Now we can start to work on that a little bit more, I'll share with you one of my biggest roadblocks is overwhelm. I've had that since I was a kid, and it came to be because when I was growing up, I was an only child and my parents had a very dysfunctional marriage. My dad was an alcoholic and my mother was mentally ill. And so in order for them to get through life, I became their main focus. I was like their distraction from all of their problems. And so, everything got focused on me, which sounds great. But the way that it went down was not so great, So I had a lot of pressure on me at all times to be a really great kid and to never mess up and to make sure I made them happy all the time and I never disappointed them. And it was a lot. It was a lot of responsibility for a little kid. So I remember one example of my overwhelm issue was I was probably about 4 or 5 years old and they had taken me to Toys R Us. And I think we were picking out a present for a friend of mine or a cousin or somebody's little kid's birthday that we were buying a gift for. And my mom told me, I wasn't asking. I wasn't one of those kids that goes into a toy store and is like, I want something, blah. I never said anything because I always wanted to please. I was a big old people pleaser. And so my mom said, Jenny, because they called me Jenny back then, she said, you can pick out one thing that you'd like in the whole store. Sounds like fun, huh? It wasn't for me. I was so overwhelmed and I ended up leaving with nothing. I got nothing. Any other kid in the world you may think would take advantage of that and come back with like a bicycle or a video game system. I didn't even leave with like a piece of candy or anything. I was so overwhelmed by that I shut down. I totally shut down and I couldn't make a decision. And that roadblock has followed me into my adulthood. And even after my traumatic experience, it pops up too. And, so what ends up happening is I'll be in the midst of working towards something, and all of a sudden, let's say I discovered that I've got, 6 things now that I have to accomplish in order to move to the next step. And I'm like, oh my God, what do I do first? Oh my God, there's so much to do. And then my brain starts to race and I start to think of all of the things that I still have to do and like figuring out, oh, which one do I do first? And what if this one doesn't work out? And then it delays the next one. And so my brain starts going into overwhelm mode and I totally shut down. Roadblock. That's one of my big ones. Some of the other ones that you might pop in your head, some people get lazy. Some people realize that it might take a little bit more work than they thought about to get to their goal. And they decide to stop because it's the laziness that pops up. Other people tend to make excuses, when they start reaching goals. And they start coming up with reasons why they cannot make it happen. And other people have an inner naysayer that pops up and starts reminding them of how terrible they are, or how stupid they are and how they shouldn't even expect to be able to accomplish anything. So why are they even trying? That's another roadblock that can pop up. Or, sometimes imposter syndrome. Oh God, that's another one of mine that I used to deal with all the time. That's where there's a piece of you inside that feels like you are sort of pretending to be doing something that you're doing, and other people might expose you for being like a fraud, even though you're not. Imagine like, for me, for example, I went through my crazy decade-long traumatic experience and I came out wanting to help people. And so I got certified as a life coach and a spiritual coach, and became a trauma survivor coach. And in the beginning, there was a part of me where my imposter syndrome popped up along my route of my certification. And I was like, oh my God, like, what makes me think that I can do this? What makes me think that I'm qualified to help anybody else? And it's really hard to deal with that. It's really hard to deal with the stuff that comes from yourself, So those are huge roadblocks. So I encourage you to really get honest with yourself with this. Really do some digging deep down inside. And if you get emotional, that's okay, because this is kind of an emotional thing. We're digging into some deep stuff. We're digging into some things that, might have been around since we were kids. We're digging into stuff that might bring up some old feelings from when we were children with our parents, or, stuff that our old friends kind of put in our heads that aren't true, or, maybe our trauma was more recent and now we're digging in to some new feelings that we have about ourselves that are fresh, and that's painful too. So if you get emotional while doing this, it's okay. That is okay. The most important part in life is to feel the feels. Feel them as they happen. Don't block them away. Never run from your feelings. That's when they start to build up and cause more problems. And, you want to feel what you're feeling right then and there. And it's okay. Cry, cool. Yell, cool. Throw a pillow. Don't throw anything breakable. It's important to discover about yourself the truth. It's important to be honest with yourself about things if you want to move forward in life. It's really, really, really important to be honest with yourself and everybody else, of course. So here we go. Make a list. Get some pen and paper out, okay? And dig deep. What are the most common reasons that you stop working towards your goals? Is it overwhelm? Is it fear? Do you stop because you're afraid of success? Are you afraid of failure? Are you afraid that people might judge you? Are you afraid that, your mother might call you and say, you're not good enough to do that. I don't know why you're trying. Are you afraid of not knowing what to do once you get to your goal? Are you afraid that you might change as a person? Are you afraid that your husband might look at you differently? Are you afraid that you might look at yourself differently? Fear is a big one, so maybe that's one. Just go crazy with this. Think hard. Go back to your childhood with this. Start from when you were a kid. Start writing down everything you can think of. Every single thing that has made you stop in your tracks on your way to your goals, time and time again. It can be tiny, tiny goals. It could be like when I was a kid, I was going to go to gymnastics camp, and I ended up not going because some of the girls I was going with made me feel bad a few days before, and so I got afraid, and so I didn't go. It could be something like that. Or it can be, a bigger goal when you were older, like I was gonna go and get a master's degree, and I, had the whole process started, and then I got afraid that, my boyfriend would leave me because I was going to be more successful than him. Okay. So it could be anything, any goal, big or small. Just start writing down everything that has ever stopped you in your tracks, ever, on your way to reaching a goal. It could be emotional. It could be fear-based. It could be external. It could be anything, absolutely anything. Okay. Then what you do after that, go through your list. See what pops up time and time again. We all have patterns, and roadblocks are patterns that we all have. And you'll start to see that the same ones tend to peek their little head in time and time again. And those are really the ones you want to focus on. So maybe take a highlighter and highlight the ones that you see pop up over and over again. Okay? Then what we can do is down in the comments, okay? Interaction time. Start sharing what your biggest roadblocks are, because I guarantee you other people have the same ones too. Okay, I bet I even have a bunch of them, and I would love to see other people having the same ones as me. Right? It's always helpful to have other people sharing similar experiences, right? So make your list. Okay, dig deep, be honest. This is a safe place. No one's gonna judge you here, right? We're all in the same boat. No family or friends are going to watch this or see you or do anything, okay? So there's no judgment. So really use this to your advantage, okay? And share, okay? Biggest part of this community is that we're all sharing and working together and supporting each other. So share down below. What are your biggest roadblocks, okay? And if you need more clarity on this, go ahead and shoot me a private message and we can get on a breakthrough call together. It's a half hour, totally free, lots of fun. You'll walk away with some new insight in your life. It's a really good time, and I enjoy doing them. So go ahead, send me a private message or write me a comment below too if you want to do that. So anyway, good luck with your roadblocks. Get some tissues if you think you're going to get emotional. I know I always do, but this is a really good thing. Really, really good thing. So thank you, everybody. I look forward to reading about your roadblocks. Bye.